The most important thing to realize, it's never been easier to outperform your competition at a job, at a side hustle, and in life. That's this week on Thrive in the Future.
Welcome to Thrive in the Future podcast. Positive solutions to help you thrive. Designing your intentional life, homesteading, gardening, and rediscovering culture and tradition. At Grow Nut Trees, it's elderberry time. It's elderberry cuttings. I also have some plants left that are bare root. And also comfrey and comfrey crowns. That's at grownutTrees.com. Okay, folks, it's happening. Cyprian is coming back on the podcast. That is, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise. So next week, stay tuned. And while you're waiting, go listen to my friend Buck on the Counterflow podcast. He had Cyprian on a couple weeks ago on episode 296. It's about 2024 and the era of techno-feudalism with Cyprian. It's very good. In addition to that, Buck also had on recently Jim Jatras to talk about Texit. A lot of interesting things coming up there. That's Counterflow Podcast with Buck Johnson, counterflowpodcast.com.
Welcome back to Thrive in the Future. This week, we're talking about you are not defined by your job title. So you've been there. You are in a social gathering like church or some other social function, and the question comes up, so what do you do? So how do you respond? Most people answer, I'm at this role at XYZ company. But what's that really saying? You have boxed yourself into a role and you declared your allegiance to your current company. It's better to say, I am at a role currently working at XYZ company. This is subtle, but it leaves the door open. I've seen a person react with, oh, we have an opening at my company, or my relative has been looking for that role at his company. That works for all jobs in a tight labor market. That's why the recommended career advice is to change your LinkedIn profile title from your role at XYZ company, which is the default, to your role built into a one-line hook, like a one-line elevator speech. There's a lot there to hook someone and lead them to ask more questions, or to eliminate me from their search or attention. Remember, as Cyprian says, we're in an attention economy and you are farming attention. So let's talk about some secrets of job networking. We've already talked about how to define your role and how it can open up conversations. So in tough times, the best job leads that you can have are those ones that you get from knowing somebody and you can get a recommendation or an inside track. Now, HR tries to stop it, but employers want a track record and they prefer a testimonial. Even though it sounds like nepotism, they're going to judge you as a candidate better than the person they have no referral from. So that person you worked with for 2 years is now over at another company and they can give you a testimonial. You're going to get the inside track. So you are greater than the sum of your parts. We're talking about job titles, but you are greater than the sum of your parts. Write down all of the ways you could describe yourself to a new person that you have met if you were initiating a conversation. And most likely you would not start with your job title. See, I like to talk about my homestead, my garden, and my trees. And unless I'm at a work-related gathering, I don't talk about work at all. If I'm asked, what do you do? I say, I'm a project manager currently working at XYZ company, but my real passion is trees. And I talk about what I like to do. So wait, do I not like my job? But that's not the point. Part of it is knowing your audience. I go to church in Topeka where, like most of Northeast Kansas, the jobs are mostly state government or universities. I already have contracts at most of those state jobs. I'm not at church to make leads on a job, and I'm not trying to find customers to sell my trees. I just share my passion for growing trees and gardening. Let's look at the tight labor market. So thousands of people in IT and white-collar workers are laid off. That sounds so innocuous. Oh, I'm laid off. But let's be real. Laid off only applies to union workers. These people are downsized, fired, and not coming back. Now, that sounds really harsh, but it's the truth. And why is this important? Because those days of job security are gone. But you can take advantage of the shift in the labor market. Tough times cause downsizing, or the company just gets tighter and makes the existing employees work much harder. I've seen many friends and family who have union jobs who had their jobs negotiated away by their senior union leaders who accepted a two-tier system where the senior union members get to keep all their benefits, but the newer junior members have less pay, less benefits, and little or no job security. We see that in the aircraft industry in Wichita, Kansas, as well as those long union strikes that were up at Kellogg's in Michigan. And since 2020, we've seen a bifurcation in the labor market as well. Zoomers are doom scrolling, and they often believe they have not much of a future. And the American dream of owning a house, having kids, working one job for a long time and be retiring, it's revealed as having no clothes. In addition to that, many service and fast food workers in jobs right now, they pay the next day after working. And why is that? Because many Zoomers work until they get enough to live on for this week or month, and then they don't want to work the rest of the month and they don't show up for work. There's a reevaluation of what work is and how important it is and how it fits into your life. That's a good thing. In addition to that, the younger millennials and now the Zoomers who are professional roles like IT have been sold the idea that they can have work flexibility, but they've traded it for being always online. They have the flexibility to leave work at 3 p.m., but they're expected to get back on later in the evening. And they fall for this unlimited vacation or PTO benefits trap, which you do not have. PTO as a paid benefit. And you find out that the unlimited PTO means that you still need to cover that customer meeting or make up the time that you took off. So basically you have no vacation. So most HR studies, as well as many of my former colleagues who have this unlimited PTO, find that they take much less time off. What happens is this adversity is now baked into the recipe. As Rod Dreyer said in Live Not by Lies, sooner or later you'll experience a great loss in life. When suffering reveals that the world is not the place you think it is and that your dreams will not come true after all, what then? So what's this mean? This has kind of been negative. What are the positive solutions? You need to own your career, get training and stay at a job that is providing opportunities, and change jobs for better opportunities as they present themselves. And most importantly, keep the mindset that this may be temporary, be prepared for that adversity, but don't be ruled by the fear of it. And this is where prepping comes in, because prepping is necessary to offset those downturns and adversity. And your mindset is everything. But from a positive standpoint, as Justin Welsh recently tweeted, every unsuccessful person I know believes the game is rigged. Every successful person knows the game is rigged, but learns how to play. It's cliche as hell, but your mindset is everything. So free your mindset. As I said in the beginning, the most important thing to realize is it's never been easier to outperform most of your competition at a job, at a side hustle, and in life. So today is always the best day to start the side hustle because you always need to be building additional forms of income. And let's just stop calling it a side hustle. Last week I tweeted, I think that you need to stop calling your side business a side hustle because side hustle has become meaningless, or maybe meaning something I'm doing on the side that I hope will someday make me some money. Shudra responded to it and said, if it isn't making money, it's a hobby and not a hustle. So let's talk about starting your side hustle. As Justin Welsh said, that stuff that you think everyone knows is mind-blowing to someone who's just getting started. And you know stuff. You might not think it's all that much. You could even lay out all the steps to do it, and you could put a blog post and you can make a podcast episode about it, but someone will pay you to do those steps instead of doing it themselves. Establish your authority by doing. This was only a couple of episodes back in episode 118, how to build a side hustle by buying a mini business or a pre-made website. I talked about my lessons learned from using Flippa to buy websites. I included my wins and losses, the good, the bad, and the very ugly, and that was only 6 weeks ago. Toolman Tim asked me to be on his podcast, and he asked me about it on his podcast. Other people want to talk about it. I am now seen as an authority, and all it took was 6 weeks of work, building in public, and sharing my experiences. Being honest while not sugarcoating it. It's never been easier to outperform somebody by doing. It's proof of work. So go beyond the hobby and run it like a business. And this is the formula. Dream, plan, and then build. Build in public, releasing often, measure the outcome, and pivot if necessary, and then tweak and repeat. Take care, everybody.
Hey, if you like this episode, leave us a tip on Venmo or Cash App at Thrive in the Future. Or join the Patreon, patreon.com/Thrive in the Future. You get early episodes and you get extras. Thank you. Check out Thriving News. That's where Perpin and I share longer form articles about homesteading, mindset, milpa gardening, food forest, etc. Go check it out at thrivingnews.com. Thank you for listening to Thrive in the Future podcast. If you like what you hear, please click that like or subscribe button in your favorite podcast app. Follow us on Twitter at Thrive in the Fute, and also go to thriveinthefuture.com.